Okay. All right. So the next game we're talking about is Superman 64, which is not its real name. I guess it's actually just called Superman, but it was released for the Nintendo 64, and that's what it'll be remembered as for always.
No, it's
and
that
forever.
this is where we're actually going to talk about the Commodore 64 game called Superman.
We should be,
There was actually one of those, yes.
I know, yeah.
I wonder how much better or worse it could be. So this was nominated by Anonymous on Stitcher, which tells you something about how
You sneaky bastard! Who are you?
I know, we don't know. We don't know who this person is. But I do know what they said, which was, this is my favorite. Okay, so this is in their Stitcher review, whoever Anonymous is. This is my favorite gaming podcast. It is also the only gaming podcast I'm aware of. But it is a good one.
Well, if we're number one in someone's hearts, sorry, Anonymous, I called you a bastard. I rescind that. Thank you.
I think you should rescind that, because if it's their favorite podcast, they probably shouldn't have asked us to play Superman 64.
Well, no, they said it's their favorite gaming podcast, but we're also the only gaming podcast they know of to exist. So by default, we are the favorite.
As far as I'm aware, we are the only gaming podcast. I haven't researched it extensively, but I'm pretty sure no one else covers games.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't.
You think
we are pioneers here.
So when was this game released? I think.
Well, we haven't finished the comment here. All right, so I would like to see if the HG 101 crew could review Superman 64 for the Nintendo 64. I mean, y'all got to do it eventually, right? And that is correct, because
You've got a point there.
yeah, we do. I mean, that's
Superman 64 ranks 47,859.
No.
Oh,
Okay,
Ready for the outro?
So yeah, we're ready. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Superman 64, not
is
a
the
great
game
game.
I talked about today.
In fact, famously a rather bad game. And there's different theories out there as to why this is. Apparently, someone who worked on the game has blamed DC and Warner Brothers licensing people or whoever owned it at the time.
Which I without besmirching the good name of DC Comics and Warner Brothers, it would be tentatively at least believe partially that they had something to do with the quality of the games and
right. Well, it's based on the generally pretty damn good Superman cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah, the one that was it was basically running concurrent to Batman the Animated Series by Bruce Tim Baldini. It was in what would eventually become the DC animated universe, and Batman's objectively more popular than Superman nowadays, but nonetheless Superman's animated series was still really damn good. It got a lot about his mythology, made him very personable, likable. It actually featured him in some vulnerable situations. It had a lot of his villains, like there are more than just 3 he fights, and it was a really damn good show.
Where would you rank the show on our list of games?
17ish. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I will
I'm
say,
just kidding.
in DC Warner Brothers' defense of interviewing this game was also made by Titus, well known for developing Titus the Fox and.
This is weird for me because something doesn't add up, because as you were saying, like, this came at the same time as the Batman animated series, and I'm pretty sure the games for Batman's animated series were pretty good, as people tend to say.
I don't think they were by Titus, were they, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think this was DC's fault. This was probably Titus' fault.
Okay. Part of the reason is apparently DC were very restrictive about what Superman could and could not do. And the developer did not work well with those constraints.
I will say that's a good point. If someone somehow doesn't know who Superman is, I'll just say he's like the first major superhero ever, and he is also has lots of powers, many powers, that realistically make it tough for him to ever be in a video game adaptation, because you don't want to make him feel too strong because he'd be boring, or too weak because he wouldn't really be Superman. And no game ever has gotten this balance right, and I gotta say, it's kind of the fault of the character itself. There's been no good Superman game ever, I think.
Most Superman games are at best
suck less than others.
Decent. Yeah, like, it's very, very difficult to make a solid Superman, because Superman kind of inherently is almost an invulnerable person, an invulnerable man, who has only very small number of weaknesses, one of which is magic now, so they kind of just hand wave that, I guess.
Yeah, if Mr. Mystic Spitlick was the major rival I had to deal with, that would make this 50% better already. But
Mr.
essentially,
Spitlick would made, he would have made it.
No, instead, like, you're trapped in, like, Lex Luthor's virtual reality thing.
and that allegedly is because they didn't want Superman to basically hurt real people, like DC allegedly wanted. Like, no, Superman can't beat up real people or kill them. That's not cool. Superman's not allowed to do that. So you have to put it in virtual reality so that we can have some flexibility about what happens in the game. It's very... The choices made in this game don't make sense unless someone was kind of making very specific, very bad choices that only makes sense if you're trying to essentially establish a character before you establish a good game, which is...
Sorry, but like as you were saying before, now I've never thought about this, but like this makes sense to me now. Like DC's going around like, oh no, you can do Superman can do this, can do this, can do that, and like, oh, but what the hell are we gonna put him into then? Oh, let's put him in virtual reality and have him fly through rings, like.
Yeah, we should talk about the gameplay in a little bit, but I do want to say that I feel like Batman is a little bit less restrictive, because, Batman has all these bat gadgets. Batman can actually die in the sense that he's allowed to be beaten.
With money.
And Batman is like, Batman is always people, almost. I know he doesn't technically kill people, but he's like, I throw you off a cliff with an explosive, and that's... You're okay, though. You'll be fine.
It's the A-team of hurting people. Nobody ever dies.
I didn't see you die. Close him out.
In Superman, the N64 game, you start off with an intro, and it goes downhill. Your friends, Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, and the chief of the Metropolis, Perry White, they get sucked into virtual reality, and then Lex Luthor's like, well, you're gonna have to go get him, Superman, or something, and he's like, okay, sure, I'm gonna do that instead of just punching you in the face, like would be probably the smarter choice, but...
Turn off the computer. Here's the thing. If you can get physically sucked into virtual reality, guess what it isn't anymore? Virtual. It is real. If you can get sucked into it, that is for all intents and purposes reality. That is,
if you die in the game,
literal reality.
Because it's your real body.
That is real.
You die in the game, you die in real life.
This is actually in 1999, the same year as The Matrix, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Maybe they heard the Matrix like, all right, virtual reality, that'll solve all of our problems. But, okay, and then the game immediately starts.
Right.
And what happens is, the game is just like, okay, go through these rings. That's it. That's the start of the game. You don't even get time to acclimate your controls. You don't have any idea what's going on. The manual is bare bones, and you just suddenly have to fly through rings. And
you gotta admit, though, it took balls to say, like, we're gonna literally make the player jump through hoops.
Well, point. I only accept it if that was like one thing you did in a laundry list of like 30 other gameplay elements this game has. But literally half the freaking game is rings.
As a general rule, in terms of good game design, you don't immediately start the player on a harsh time limit alongside having to fly through a very specific route with controls that you don't understand yet. That is always bad.
Well, I mean, I kind of, to an extent, understand, maybe not to as draconian as it was, but I can kind of understand some of the rules that DC wanted to set down, but couldn't they have still done better than broke-ass pilot wings or whatever it's turned out as?
I actually think the best part of this game, one of the best parts, is that the flying, once you get used to it, is pretty good. I would like to fly around the city without the rings, and I know I'm not alone in that, in the sense that it's like, I can feel the controls. You can actually fly through the rings. If you really want to get specific, even though it is the least worst part of the game, is the fact that the flying through rings actually works in kind of like a actual physical sense. Like, I'm flying, I hold down the button, I fly, I can swoop side to side and through buildings, and it kind of gets that... The closest this game gets to feeling like you're actually playing as Superman and doing stuff that's kind of... I know flying through rings isn't his thing, but flying is his thing, and at least it captures that. So after you fly through some rings, you then have to lift up a cop car. You have to lift up regular cars and throw them away in order to stop them running over children and babies and stuff, which...
Yeah.
That's immediately what you fly through rings, you pick up cars to save children, fly through more rings, pick up a police car.
Are they real children or virtual children?
Virtual children, but if they die, Lex Luthor wins. That's just how it works.
Yeah, and that does lend a lot of credence to the license license holder declared that you cannot like imperil real people. Okay, fine, whatever. They're like virtual babies. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's like they would have said like, if Superman loses, innocent people can't die, so he has to win.
Yeah, I'm trying to like imagine like Lex Luthor being there, like, oh, okay, well, if children get hurt, then I win. Programming like this weird virtual reality.
.exe, yeah.
.exe.
And Lex Luthor, the greatest arch rival to Superman, obviously can never take him into a fight, so he basically has to be a dick with whatever resources he has, which are numerous, to beat Superman.
Why? But, so if Superman is in his virtual reality program, why does Superman still have powers? Wouldn't Lex Luthor
because Lex Luthor is challenging him to get through his virtual maze of incredible boredom.
Wait. That sounds like less like Lex Luthor, more like the Riddler. I am being a total nerd right now.
Well, the Riddler did literally do that in one of the Batman cartoons, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, he did.
I feel like Lex Luthor would have, done something that felt smarter. Maybe he would have snuck Superman into virtual reality and then tried to make Superman crazy or something, and then Superman would be like, "Wait, this isn't reality," and then he'd go like nuts. But
I think that all future and current depictions of Lex Luthor have solved this problem, where he's definitely really super smart. Like that last movie where he's like, I know what I'll do. I'll unleash a super powerful Superman-like super monster, and I don't know. Like, kill Superman, then I don't know what's going to happen next. I suppose we will just all bow down to the monster. And
hang on. Xerxes, are you talking about Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice for real?
No.
Okay.
Is that what happens? I don't know. You know, to be
let's
honest,
not talk about it.
While watching that movie, I didn't finish it because as soon as the Oil of Olay product placement showed up, I was like, I got to rush out of the house and buy some Oil of Olay. I'm going to rub it all over my body and finish this movie.
Speaking of design or the other lack to it, I was watching. I did not have a chance to play this before this, but I was watching a video and just like, it is shocking how like bare bones in production this game is. Like even the menus look like kind of bad. Like placeholders are like a bootleg game even.
Yeah. Okay. So what this is?
Beta. Yeah.
This is clearly sitting around alpha. Like this game was in development hell. In case you don't know, this game was in development hell, and again, the developer has alleged, and they did this. Like, they didn't say DC Comics is the worst ever. They just said, we would make something, and then they would give us notes, and the notes would basically say, throw that out, we can't use that, or you can't do that. So we ended up going way over time, and so what you have is essentially, what I believe you have is essentially them being like, all right, whatever, this is literally all that you will let us make, here it is, we quit. Like, that is kind of the extent of where you were at. They were like, we're not finishing this. This can technically be beaten. That releases us from our contract. We're gone. Like, that is the...
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't have a contract. They had a license. And their problem was that if they took any longer to make the game, their license would expire. And they were supposed to make a PlayStation port of the game as well.
I do want to say, when you say port, they actually handed the game off. I can't remember which developer, but they handed it to a different developer and said, don't make Superman 64. Make a new Superman, and we'll release that for the PlayStation.
How'd that turn out?
At any rate, the license expired before they could do that.
Yeah.
So okay. That was the ticking clock there. And so if the license holder retains that, not the license holder, if the IP holder retains that power to say no, you can't do that, then if they really did do that, then there is a point at which they're like, we have to release a game, or else we just all the money we spent acquiring this license is gone.
I don't know how much blame I should put on Titus because I know they're a bad developer, but
yeah, I don't think that what they wanted to do would have been a great game. I just think that I just don't want to blame them for making the game this specifically bad. Like everything was a design choice. Like, I know what would be great. Let's do this. And everybody's like, clap, 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 clap.
I will grant that it's a fantastic falling through floors simulator.
I bumped through several floors, and I had to reset the second mission.
Oh, we haven't even mentioned the kryptonite fog.
Kryptonian fog.
The kryptonite fog. So the game has a really limited draw distance. And even by N64 standards, they're like, well, we got to have fog. Let's call it kryptonite fog.
It makes it look like Turok has 20/20 vision in comparison. It's some bad stuff. I tell you, bad business. That's a hot take.
I think because they realized that the Kryptonian fog trademark was stupid that all of the mission stages, because the game is divided between ring stages that are stupid and mission stages that are absolutely horrible. And in these mission stages, they're all inside really small, cramped corridors that are labyrinthian, because, you know, obviously Superman's very famous for running through corridors. That's one of his, I believe it's one of his main traits. He's like, I'm Superman, I run down hallways.
I know that when I was a kid, whenever I picked up a Superman comic book, I was like, if Superman does not run down a damn hallway, I'm going to lose my mind.
It's great because there's even like a very small number of destructible walls. Like, they acknowledge that Superman could just be like, you know what, forget it, I'm just flying through that wall because I can physically do that. But then the rest of the walls, he's like, whoa, that is a support beam, and I will not touch it.
That's a load-bearing wall. You can't go through it.
I want to skip back to the Kryptonian fog, because this is already a giant error in how Superman works. Because if kryptonite was literally everywhere around him, wouldn't he just, like, fall on his ass? Why is he allowed to fly?
He falls on his ass all the time. What are you talking about?
But, like, he can still kind of fly-ish, I think, maybe.
If you accidentally tap the right trigger, I think, he's just like, all right, and he just plummets to the ground.
I think he's always blowing the fog out of the way with his secret breath. It's just like... So he's constantly exhaling.
I almost want to make a boy, I wish somebody got fired for that blunder remark, but this game is a gigantic blunder, and I don't think it did Titus's career.
Okay, so before we
game actually set Titus in a death spiral. I'm pretty sure this game started their collapse, because they in 6 short years from the release of this game, they went bankrupt, and I'm pretty confident this did not help their financial situation.
I heard, they allege that it's... Oh, no, they didn't allege. I think it's confirmed. It did actually sell pretty well.
It did. This game allegedly sold, according to them, was the third best N64 selling game on, like, the July of its release. It came out in June. So basically, a lot of people bought this game, which...
So, I guess before we rank it, I want to really fast, like, could you salvage anything from this concept? And how would you do it?
So this feels to me, I know this is not the case, I know that's not, like, this is not a theory, but it feels like the kind of game that they had ready, like, this was ready as something else, and then they put Superman on top of it, so I'm almost thinking, like, could this be a passable game if it didn't have Superman on it?
Well, it does have a lot of Superman stuff, which doesn't seem to do all that much. You get laser eyes, which you just kind of generically shoot at things, and you get freeze breath, which generically freezes things. Wow, what did you expect? You also use your freeze breath to destroy tornadoes, which are flying towards people, and these people just stand there, gawk-eyed, as a tornado slowly approaches them. That's the
Holy
level
crap,
of game we're getting at.
tornado!
To speak of salvaging this game, I know that Titus had, and there are beta versions of this game, or videos of the beta, or whatever, floating around, where this game was originally intended to be a sandbox game, or at least a proto-sandbox game.
Yeah.
The idea was Superman would fly around Metropolis, and stuff would happen, and you would, interact with things, and you would prevent things from happening, and you would have a lot more freedom of movement. And I think that, look, we agree, Titus is at the best kind of a mediocre tier developer. They didn't make great games. But I'm pretty sure they would have made a game that was at least, this is an amusing enough diversion. I can play this for a couple of hours.
It sounds like they wanted to make Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I think that they were getting around that sort of area. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure they looked at Superman, they went, what does Superman do? Well, he flies around Metropolis, he sees crime, and he stops it. And then we do that, and then we put in, like, some missions that he has to go on, like the missions that are actually in the game. And then, he'll break between missions, he'll fly around Metropolis and solve crimes and stuff. And that was the plan, and for whatever reason, that didn't come to fruition. And you could almost see elements in here that are good. I like the way you can pick up the cars, because at least that's kind of Superman-y. He flies, he lifts things up, and you can throw them. Yeah, that's kind of cool. The fighting is terrible, absolutely abysmally, just smash punch, and nothing really happens.
You don't even have to fight half the time. If you can get in a line, you can just fly into it and
just punches fly him. It's only the bosses, and there are several bosses who are just like guys that run up to you and punch you, and that's all they do. But one thing, and this is
Darkseid doesn't even know Mega.
This is why I know that they were trying to at some point make a decent game before they went insane and gave up. Because when you punch an enemy in this game, it doesn't sit behind Superman. The camera goes to kind of a side angle, and you see like Superman do like one of his like comic book style punches, and then the enemy flies off, and I'm like, that's that's good. That's like a thought that they had where it's like, okay, it's a comic book game. So when Superman punches someone, the camera cuts, and then it's like, look at Superman punch this guy, and then he punches another guy. And it's like, I can see where they're going with that, where they were like, let's make a game that is kind of comic booky and fun. And that got lost, but there is a game hiding in there that they wanted to make. You'll never see it because what was released was beyond abysmal. There's no salvaging it, really. But somewhere in development, they were making a game that was something to at least be.
I wonder, I would have just been a smartass and been like, I'll make Clark Kent the game where you can.
Someone really needs to do that, honestly.
It's like, what if the game was like it's like a stealth game where you have to be Clark Kent and stop like crimes without exposing yourself as Superman. Like
that's actually the best suggestion for a Superman game ever, because how could you make him interesting, compelling, and also vulnerable without having to balance his secret identity also? I think that's the only way you can do it to make it.
That
you really get hurt, but
you need a button. You have to press a button to pretend to feel pain.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't... Oh, this is... No, wait. Lana stepped on... This is gold here. So the point of the game is to convincingly fake injuries in cowardice. And so it's like...
It's a bunch of cuties.
If you don't do it right enough, Jimmy Olsen's going to be like, Clark, you just got shot in the face there, and you didn't even, like, cry or anything. Like, oh, you're right, Jimmy, Oh, my face! Oh, God!
Oh, someone hear us!
Terrible! Look, there should be blood everywhere. I don't know why there isn't, but
even if you can't secure the Superman license, someone needs to make something akin to this.
Your inventory is full of fake blood capsules.
Just like splashing him around, like You have also, just before we rank it, and I think I know where this game is going. You've mentioned getting shot. Superman gets shot in this game, and he will die. That is the level of Superman we are talking about here.
Batman should be able to do that because he's just a man.
Virtual reality.
I know, it's virtual reality.
So it's like programmed to him.
Virtual bullets hurt.
But why does he have his powers in virtual reality? Why is kryptonite affecting him in virtual reality?
Luthor is a smart cookie, and
he programmed it into the game.
Yeah.
If Lex just wants to kill Superman, you just get him into this trap, and then while he's
him in virtual reality, sucks him into the program, and then turns off the computer. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Like,
Or like he should somehow like strap him up to a VR machine, and then just like while Superman's body is prone there, Lex should just like walk in the room and stab him with a kryptonite knife.
Well, his brain is in virtual reality, so you just turn it off.
I win, like, Superman. You're trapped in dactyl nightmare forever.
And one more thing. I know, like, Lex is his most foremost and prominent enemy, but couldn't this have been at least Brainiac to put in virtual reality? Because that's much more his territory. I mean,
Brainiac's on the title screen, too.
Exactly, and in the context of the animated series, Brainiac was the supercomputer that blew up Krypton in the first place. So, like, what the fuck? I feel like there's just so much...
Spoilers for the end of the game, but just so you know, if you manage to finish this game, and if you do it legitimately, the camera at the ending will bug out, and it'll just zoom in and out, and it'll basically make you sick during the ending. Just so you know. But also, the ending is, you saved your friends, but Lex Luthor is still alive, still, like, there to kick your ass, and that's it. Like, that's the ending. It just cuts to, like, but Lex Luthor is still alive and ready to fight, and it's like, you win. That's the end of the game. Like... Yeah. You don't even get, like, a resolution where you beat Lex Luthor. It's just like, nope.
The more I think about this, the more I feel like some people at TIES are just like, you know what? I do not care. Like,
Probably not.
This is what they want.
Yeah, like,
this is what we're doing, and it's going to suck, and it's going to damage Superman probably worse than it's going to damage us. And they were wrong.
Yeah.
I feel at the point that they were at, they were like, well, we can't, that's it. Like, we're done. We're not. It doesn't matter to us. Like, whatever. This game's gonna sell because it's got Superman on the box.
Yeah, we just don't want to end this contract. Like, just get it out of here. Just finish this.
Speaking of them not caring, did anyone ever play the multiplayer? I kind of forgot that existed until I was like reading the old IGN review, and like, yeah,
it does have multiplayer. So
Uh-huh.
I can actually mention that I actually played this game in a shop, like in a mall, where they had a demo unit, and they set Superman 64 up on the demo N64. That was what they were like, this is the one that'll move the units. And it was stuck on the multiplayer mode. So, you could basically not play it because it only had one controller.
Are you sure it was a demo unit and not some kind of anti-theft device?
Don't steal this, you don't want it. I'm not kidding. No, so the multiplayer is some sort of stupid deathmatch mode, I think, or you can fly around as little UFOs chasing each other while one of you farts out rings. That is the multiplayer mode.
You can't actually play as Superman with the multiplayer mode.
For the baby out with the bathwater. That does not sound bad. I would play that over Star Fox 64's multiplayer.
That was a bit of a janky idea, even I'll admit that. But
Yeah. Okay, so we got to rank this, and I guess the decision is, how bad of a game is this? Is it the worst game? I think not.
You think
because
not? Really?
actually, I am going to agree with Xerxes on the premise that, as we were all saying, it felt like this game could have been and was going to be more. You know, if it would have been above, like, what the intended product would have been, if it ended up above Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball, that would still be where it was going to go.
Yeah.
Then there was a lot of fart potential, a lot of problems behind the set, and it came out even worse than mediocre. So.
I would say, like, look, all right, I would say that a lot of the games at the bottom of the list are unplayably bad, and unplayably bad in the sense that they're it's actually, no, I want to say they are a combination of unplayably bad and impossibly bland.
I like how you had to rephrase that because you realized that Superman 64 is unplayably bad. It's like, hold on.
I don't think it's okay, so no.
To be theoretical,
all right,
every
look.
game is playable if you can link a controller to it.
Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball is unplayably bad. I would argue that for all the polish it has, it's less excusable. Whereas with Superman 64, you can at least say, well, these are just some like dudes in France who just gave up because they had to put this out there. And it's like, but Bill Laimbeer, you're like, this is a fully realized nightmare. This is just a terrible, terrible, terrible thing that they put out and like saw through from beginning to end. But it has a really cool name. I can't. And it gets funnier every year because nobody remembers who that guy was. It's like,
okay,
Laimbeer's Combat
my
Basketball.
big problem with Superman 64, other than the rings and the levels and everything about it, is that it's actually quite long and quite exhausting to play. Now, the reason that's a problem is some of our worst games, and I'm including Super Monkey Daboken, The Fabulous Wonder. This is the very, very bottom of the list. Even kind of Uncanny X-Men. At least I feel like those are, you play that for, we'll say, an hour, and you'll either finish it or, you're done. You load up Superman 64, you are trapped in a hell of Superman 64 for hours, and you won't even finish it. You just keep having to play this horrible game, and it doesn't get better. I mean, it's just like, oh god, it's actually getting worse. What's happening?
I'm going to say, okay, so I'm going to put it above Uncanny X-Men for sure. It has to go because Uncanny X-Men really can't be finished.
I think Jones in the Fast Lane has better music, and I think that's why it should go above it.
Yeah, I mean, Superman 64 is definitely in the Jones zone, no question.
Let me put it this way. Superman 64 makes me hate Superman 64. Jones in the Fast Lane makes me hate life and myself.
True.
But if you understand
But it's an amusing concept.
The essence of art, it provokes a reaction, and Jones does that better than Superman.
That's true. I was gonna. Okay, let me put it this way. Like, all right. So I would put Superman 64 above Eek the Cat.
Okay.
And below Caverns of Kafka.
For me,
Caverns
I
of
would not
Kafka
put it above Super Monkey Daboken because I played Super Monkey Daboken. I played it for over 2 hours, and I enjoyed that more. And it has a better main theme, and it also has a Kappa and a Pigman, and both of those are way better than anything in Superman 64.
So Superman
I would
loses
say
one of the classic Chinese novels. Interesting.
Yes.
I would say that here's the thing. Super Monkey Daboken and Superman 64 have something in common, which is that it is actually fun to talk about how bad they are.
True.
And that is one reason why I definitely can't put. Okay, so all right, so how about a compromise below Eek the Cat, which is a game that's just, it's not unplayable. It's just, why would you play it?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess that's the question.
The thing is, I think Superman 64 is fun to talk about, but it is not fun. Like, okay, there's So Bad It's Good, which, as we know, is a concept mostly in cinema, but it can extend to games. And there's some games like Bullet Witch that actually fit that category pretty well.
Well, I'd say Super Monkey Daboken.
And I think Super Monkey Daboken gets closer to it. Superman is too grueling to actually enjoy how bad it is, especially when you fall through the floor and have to reset the sewer stage, which is the first proper stage in the game, for the fourth time in a row.
It's the worst one. game ever.
Okay.
Like, at least Super Monkey Die Boken kind of throws its random crap at you, and it's kind of like, whoa, this is inscrutable. What the heck is going on? Whereas Superman is like, fly through these rings. What? But I'm Superman. Fly through the rings. Okay. All right. Now punch that guy. Okay. Like,
It could, yeah. I mean, it only is like a vague simulacrum of what Superman is. I mean, unless it like the only way it could be less like is like if the game were called like Superman sits down and rests. It's like
Superman
really
day off kind of deal.
Okay.
We're going back to Clark Kent here.
But okay, so here's the other thing. Superman 64 has escort missions in it. Now, I cannot, in good nature, put a game that is this bad with escort missions above a game that at the very least is you mash the attack button to hit like goblins. Like that's
Okay, all right. You talked me into it. Right below Super
Done.
Monkey Die Boken, right above Uncanny X-Men. That's 2.
Yep. I was going to say, it feels like Super Monkey Die Boken, while horrible, has at least a vague semblance of effort put into it. Uncanny X-Men feels like it really has no effort. It was just cranked out as a blatant cash-in. Superman 64 lies right in between those, in that they wanted to make it something more, but then things got really bad, and then they gave up. So it's got pseudo-effort into it. So I think between Super Monkey and X-Men is the place where it deserves it.
they wanted to make a good game with Superman 64. I have no doubt that they didn't come into this game with let's make a crappy game to make money. They genuinely believe Titus went in and said, we have Superman, I like Superman, let's make a cool Superman game. And then something happened, and 2 years later they were like, please just end the development, no more, we're done.
Although where we rank a game is not an indictment of the developer, it's just what the game is.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter how it got
But
there.
Uncanny X-Men is definitely like, all right, we got the X-Men license, put Wolverine in it, I guess. Okay, good, we're done.